Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The Honorable, the Head of Bachelor of Accounting Study Program, Mrs. Igusti Ketut Agung Ulupui, SMSI KCA, the Honorable, the Board of Examiners, and also the Honorable Thesis Advisor, Mr. Adam Zakaria, and Mr. Petrolis Nusaperdana. In this video, I will present my thesis presentation entitled The Influence of Fraud Triangle on Fraudulent Financial Statement with Corporate Governance as Moderating Variable. Before I start the presentation, please let me introduce myself first. My name is Yuni Widawati. I am a Bachelor of Accounting student, batch 2017, Fakultas Ekonomi, Universitas Negeri, Jakarta. The first part, I will explain about the background of the research. There are three main problems that formed my research background. The first is based on the Indonesian fraud survey published by SCFA in 2019. It shows that the parties most disadvantaged due to fraud are the financial and banking industry, with the percentage of 41.4%, whereas previously in the 1916 Indonesian fraud survey, the financial and banking industries were in the second position of the organization that suffered the most losses due to fraud. So it can be concluded that from 2016 until 2019, the losses suffered by the financial and banking industry due to fraud have increased and remain constant. And the second reason is then the most recent fraud case was reported by Kontan.com from November to 2020. Winda Delunardi, who is a customer of Bank Maybank Indonesia, shocked the public over the case of losing her tens of billions of rupiah. The head of the Maybank Cipulir Bank branch was finally named as a suspect in this case after it was found out that he took money amounting around 22.87 billion rupiah. And then the third is in 2019, Otoritas Jasa Keuangan had set penerapan strategi anti-fraud bagi bank umum by considering that in order to minimize the occurrence of fraud, it is necessary to strengthen the internal control system. One of the reasons for the adoption of this policy was that it was so difficult to detect fraud in banking industry. And next, the research purpose. The first purpose is to test and analyze the effect of financial targets on the detection of fraudulent financial statement. The second is to test and analyze the effect of ineffective monitoring on the detection of fraudulent financial statement. The third is to test and analyze the effect of rationalization on detection of fraudulent financial statement. The fourth is to test and analyze corporate governance variable in moderating financial targets for the detection of fraudulent financial statement. And the fifth is to test and analyze corporate governance variable in moderating ineffective monitoring of the detection of fraudulent financial statement. And the sixth is to test and analyze corporate governance variable in moderating rationalization on the detection of fraud in financial statement. And then the literature review. The first is the dependent variable, which is fraudulent financial statement. The conceptual definition is fraud is an act carried out on purpose that results in significant or material misstatement of financial statement based on auditing standards number 240. The factors that might have an effect is liquidity, profitability, audit quality, corporate governance, financial stability, financial distress, audit opinion, capital turnover, nature of industry, leverage, financial target, and financial needs. And the measurement method to measure this fraudulent financial statement is Beneš-M score model and F-score model. And the first dependent variable is pressure. Conceptual definition of pressure is generally a pressure from a financial perspective, such as a demands to meet needs. But apart from a financial perspective, pressure also comes from a non-financial perspective. For example, when a manager wants to get a promotion. And proxies that may be used is personal financial needs, financial target, and financial stability. In this study, the me as the researchers choose the financial target to represent the pressure condition because the financial target uses the ratio of profit to total asset, which is return on asset ROA ratio, and its calculation based on rumus indikator kinerja perbankan dan penilaian profil risiko by Otoritas Jasa Keuangan. Return on asset is one of performance indicator for banking industry. And the second dependent variable is opportunity. Conceptual definition is opportunity is a condition when someone sees an opportunity to cheat or commit fraud. Proxies that may be used is ineffective monitoring, organization structure, and nature of industry. In this research, the ineffective monitoring is chosen as a proxy of opportunity condition because ineffective monitoring occurs in companies due to weak monitoring system and audit committees. Otoritas Jasa Keuangan had also set penerapan strategi anti-fraud bagi bank umum by considering that in order to minimize the occurrence of fraud, it is necessary to strengthen the internal control system. And for the calculation, I used the independent board of commissioners as the means of measuring ineffective monitoring with this following formula. Jumlah Dewan Komisaris Independen dibagi dengan jumlah total Dewan Komisaris. And the third dependent variable is rationalization. The conceptual itself is rationalization is the reason that a manager transfers his subjective decision to social and universal significance in justifying abuse. Process that may be used is auditor switch, audit opinion, and audit quality. Audit opinion is used in this study as a proxy of rationalization, considering that WTP opinion given by the auditor doesn't guarantee that a company is free from fraud. In this study, rationalization is proxied by audit opinion with the following measurement based on a book by Skosen in 2009. And then for moderating variable, in this research use corporate governance. The conceptual itself is corporate governance reflects the relationship between stakeholders that is used to determine and control the strategic direction and performance of the company. Proxies that may be used is board of commissioner size, managerial ownership, audit committee, and institutional ownership. For moderating variable in this study, institutional ownership is set to represent corporate governance because institutional ownership is important in monitoring management because it is encouraged an increase in more optimal supervision. Referring to previous research, institutional ownership is formulated as follows. Saham yang dimiliki oleh institusi lain dibagi dengan jumlah saham yang beredar. Theoretical framework and hypothesis. The first hypothesis is the financial target has a significant positive effect on the fraudulent financial statement. The second one is ineffective monitoring has a significant positive effect on fraudulent financial statement. The third is rationalization has a significant positive effect on fraudulent financial statement. The fourth hypothesis is institutional ownership can weaken the influence of financial targets on fraudulent financial statement. And the fifth is institutional ownership can weaken the effect of ineffective monitoring on fraudulent financial statement. And the last one is institutional ownership can weaken the influence of rationalization on fraudulent financial statement. Next, research methodology and data analysis technique. Population used in this research is 42 banking companies listed in Indonesia Stock Exchange for period 2017 until 2019. Data is secondary data collected by Indonesian Stock Exchange website or the company's website. For sampling, this research used 40 banking companies and sampling method used purposive sampling. And then data collecting technique is panel data, which is a collaboration of time series data and cross-section data. Data analysis technique, first, descriptive statistical analysis, second, estimation model selection test, third, classic assumption test, fourth, hypothesis test, which includes panel data regression analysis, t-test, and adjusted R-squared. And for result and discussion, After the estimation model is carried out in the study, the results are the common effect model with value of 0.2814, and for fixed effect model the value is 0.2682, and for the random effect model the value is 0.2814. After doing these three tests, which is Chow test, Hausman test, and Lagrange multiplier test, the right model used in this research is common effect model. After that, the panel data regression test is carried out as follows. If the probability value is smaller than the alpha value, which is 5%, then the independent variable has a significant effect on the dependent variable, and also vice versa. So for the financial target variable as measured by return on asset with a probability of 0.3047, which is accepted for HO, and the result is financial target has no influence on fraudulent financial statement. And for ineffective monitoring variable, with probability value is 0.5, which is also higher than the alpha. Then the hypothesis null is accepted, which is ineffective monitoring has no influence on fraudulent financial statement. And then for the third dependent variable, which is rationalization, with probability value is 0, and then hypothesis null is rejected, which means rationalization has an influence on fraudulent financial statement. And for the fifth hypothesis, with probability value is more than the alpha value, the result is institutional ownership that does not weaken or cannot weaken the influence of financial target on fraudulent financial statement. And for the fifth hypothesis, with probability value is also more than the alpha value, which means the institutional ownership doesn't weaken the effect of ineffective monitoring on fraudulent financial statement. And the sixth hypothesis with probability value is 0, which is below the alpha value, means that institutional ownership is able to weaken the effect of rationalization on fraudulent financial statement. And then conclusion. The first conclusion is that financial target that use return on asset proxy and also ineffective monitoring that use the board of commissioner ratio proxy that has no significant positive effect on fraudulent financial statement, so that the hypothesis 1 and hypothesis 2 is rejected. And for rationalization that using audit opinion proxies has a significant positive effect on fraudulent financial statement, which is hypothesis 3 is accepted. And for hypothesis 4, institutional ownership cannot weaken the influence of financial target on fraudulent financial statement. Also for ineffective monitoring, institutional ownership also cannot weaken the effect of ineffective monitoring on fraudulent financial statement, so that hypothesis 4 and hypothesis 5 is rejected. And for hypothesis 6, institutional ownership can weaken the effect of rationalization on fraudulent financial statement, which is hypothesis 6 is accepted. And for the suggestion, the first suggestion is further researcher can use other measuring tools in measuring fraudulent financial statements, such as Bench M-score model or dictionary accrual, if they will examine companies in financial sector with the bank subsector. And the second is the value of the coefficient of determination or adjusted R-squared in this study is only 28.14%, including it is a relatively small value, so that Further, researchers are advised to add variables that can affect fraudulent financial statement. These variables include personal financial needs, leverage, financial stability, or total accrual. I think that's all for my research presentation. Sorry if there are any deficiencies. Thank you for the time, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.